Hello students, today my subject is software engineering and my topic is software testing. So first of all we will see what is software testing. So here's some overview of software testing. So software testing is an evaluation of the software against requirement gathering from users and system specification, and testing is conducted at the phase level in software development life cycle or at module level in program code. So in software testing there are two types, software validation and software verification. So in next we will see software validation and software verification. So first of all we will start from software validation. So validation is a process of examining whether or not the software satisfies the user requirements. So it is carried out at the end of the SDLC. SDLC stands for software development life cycle. So it if the software matches requirement for which it was made, it is validated. So in validation ensures the product under development is as per the user requirement. Validations answer the question, for example, are we developing the product which attempts all that user needs from this software? So validation emphasizes on user requirements. Okay, and next is software verification. So verification is the process of confirming if the software is meeting the business requirements and is developed to the proper specification and methodologies. So in verification it ensures the product being developed is according to design specification. Verification answers the question, are we developing this product by firmly following all design specification? So in short, verification concentrate on the design and system specification. So here target of the test are errors, fault and failure. So in errors there are actual coding mistake made by developers. So there is a difference in output of software and desired output is considered as an error. And next is fault. So when an error exists, fault occurs. A fault, also known as a bug, is a result of an error which can cause system to fail. And last is failure. So failure is said to be the inability of the system to perform the desired task. So failure occurs when the fault exists in the system. So these three are the target of the test. Next, manual versus automated testing. So testing can either be done manually or using an automated testing tool. So there are two types of testing, manual and automated. So in manual testing, this testing is performed without taking help of automated testing tools. So the software tester prepares test cases for different sections and levels of the code. So it executes the test and reports the result to the manager. And in manual testing is time and resource consuming. The tester needs to confirm whether or not right test cases are used. Major or portion of the testing involves manual testing. So this is the manual testing. Next is automated testing. So this testing is a testing procedure done with aid of automated testing tools. The limitation with manual testing can be overcome using automated tested tools. So a test needs to check if a web page can be opened in Internet Explorer. This can be easily done with manual testing. But to check if the web server can take the load of 1 million users, it is quite impossible to test manually. So there are software and hardware tools which helps tester in conducting load testing, state testing and negative testing. regression testing. So these three are testing, which are hardware and software tools. Okay, next is testing approaches. So test can be conducted based on two approaches. First one is functionality testing and second one is implementation testing. So when functionality is being tested without taking the actual implementation in concern, it is known as black box testing. And the other side is known as white box testing, where not only functionality is tested, but the way it is implemented it is also analyzed. So exhaustive tests are the best desired method for a perfect testing. So every single possible value in the range of the input and output values is tested. So it is not possible to test each and every value in real world scenario if the range of value is large. So this is the functionality testing and implementation testings descriptions. Okay, next is black box testing. So it is carried out to test functionality of the program. It is also called behavior testing. The tester in this case has a set of input values and respective desired results. So on providing input, if the output matches with the desired result, the program is tested okay and problematic otherwise. So this is the black box testing. So in figure you can see input and output. So in this testing method, the design and structure of the code are not known to the tester, and testing engineers and end users conduct this test on the software. So this is the black box testing technique. Okay. Next is black box testing techniques. So first one is equivalence class, boundary values, cause effect graphing, pairwise testing, and state based testing. So first is equivalence class. So in this, the input is divided into similar classes. If one element of a class passes the test, it is assumed that all the class is passed. So this is the equivalence class. Second is boundary values. So in this, the input is divided into higher and lower end values. So if these values pass the test, it is assumed that all values in between all values in between may pass too. Third one is cause effect graphing. In both previous method, only one input value at a time is tested. But in this, cause means input and effect means output. So cause and effect is a testing technique where combination of input values are tested in a systematic way. So in this cause effect graphing, both input and output both are tested simultaneously. Okay, so next is pairwise testing. The behavior of software depends on multiple parameters. So in pairwise testing, the multiple parameters are tested pairwise for their different values. And last one is state based testing. The system changes state on provision of input. This system are tested based on their state and input. So these are the black box testing techniques. Next is white box testing. So it is conducted to test program and its implementation in order to improve code efficiency or structure. So this is the white box testing. In figure you can see input and output. So in middle part you can see in this method the design and structure of the code are known to the tester. So programmer of the code conduct this test on the code. So this is the white box testing. Okay, the below are some white box testing techniques. First one is control flow testing and second one is data flow testing. So in control flow testing, the purpose of the of this testing to set up test cases, which covers all statement and branch conditions. The branch conditions are tested for both being true and false. So that all statement can be covered. And second one is data flow testing. So in this technique, emphasize to cover all the data variables included in the program. So it tests where the variables were declared and defined and where they were used or changed. So these both are the white box testing techniques. Okay, next, testing levels. So in testing level, testing itself may be defined at various levels of SDLC. So the testing process runs parallel to software development. So before jumping on the next stage is tested, validated and verified. So testing separately is done just to make sure that there are no hidden bugs or issues left in the software. So software is tested on various levels. So first is unit testing, integration testing, system testing, acceptance testing, and regression testing. And in system testing, functionality testing, performance testing, and security and portability. In acceptance testing, alpha testing, and beta testing. So we will start from unit testing. In unit testing, while coding, the programmer performs some test on that unit of program to know if it is error for free. So testing is performed under white box testing approach. Unit testing helps developer decide that individual unit of the program are working as per requirement and are error free. So this is the unit testing. Next is integration testing. Even if the units of software are working fine individually, there is a need to find out if the units, if integrated together, would also work with errors. So for example, argument passing and data updation, etc. So this is the integration testing. Next is system testing. The software is compiled as product and then it is tested as a whole. This can be accomplished using one or more of the following tests. So first is functionality testing. So it tests all functionality of the software against the requirement. Second one is performance testing. So this test proves how efficient the software is. It tests the effectiveness and average time taken by the software to do desired task. Performance testing is done by means of load testing and stress testing, where the software is put under high user and data load under various environment conditions. And third one is security and portability. So these tests are done when the software is meant to work on various platforms and accessed by number of persons. So third one is security and portability. So in security and portability, this tests are done when the software is meant to work on various platform and accessed by number of persons. So next is acceptance testing. So in this, when the software is ready to hand over to the customer, it has to go through last phase of testing where it is tested for user interaction and response. So this is important because even if the software matches all user requirements and if user does not like the way it appears or works, it may be rejected. So in this, first is alpha testing and second one is beta testing. So in alpha testing, the team of developer themselves perform alpha testing by using the system as if it is being used in work environment. They try to find out how user would react to some action in software and how the system should respond to inputs. So this is the alpha testing. Second one is beta testing. So after the software is tested internally, it is handed over to the users to use it under their production environment only for testing purpose. So this is not as yet the deliver product. Developers expect that users at this stage will bring minor problems which were skipped to attend. So this is the beta testing. And last one is regression testing. So in this, whenever a software product is updated with the new code, feature of feature or functionality, it is tested through to detect if there is any negative impact of the added code. This is known as regression testing. Okay. Next is testing versus quality control, quality assurance, and audit. So, first one is software quality assurance. So, in this, there are software development process monitoring means by which it is assured that all the measures are taken as per the standard of the organization. So this monitoring is done to make sure that proper software development methods were followed. Second one is software quality control. So this is a system to maintain the quality of software product. So it may include functional and non-functional aspect of software product which enhance the goodwill of the organization. So this system makes sure that the customer is receiving quality product for their requirement and the product certified as fit to use. And third one is software audit. So this is the review of procedure used by organization to develop the software. So, a team of auditors, independent of development team, examine the software process, procedure, requirement, and other aspect of SDLC. So, the purpose of the software audit is to check that software and its development process both conform standards, rules, and regulations. So this is the overview of software testing. So now next is software maintenance overview. So what is the software maintenance? Software maintenance is a widely accepted part of SDLC nowadays. So it's standard, sorry, it stands for all the modification and updation done after the delivery of software product. There are number of reasons why modification are required. Some of them are briefly mentioned below. First is market conditions, second is client requirements, third is host modification, and fourth one is organization changes. So in market conditions, policies which change over the time, such a taxation and newly introduced constraint like how to maintain bookkeeping may trigger need for modification. So this is the market condition. Second one is client requirement. Over the time, customer may ask for new features or functions in the software. So this is the client requirement. And third one is host modification. If any of the hardware and or platform of the target host changes, software changes are needed to keep adaptability. And last one is organization changes. So if there is any business level changes at client end, such as reduction of organization strength, acquiring another company, organization venturing into new business, need to modify in the original software may arise. So these are the some contents of software maintenance. Okay, next is types of maintenance. So in a software lifetime, types of maintenance may vary based on its nature. It may be just a routine maintenance task as some discovered by some user, or it may be a large event in itself based on maintenance size or nature. So, following are some types of maintenance based on their characteristic. So, these are the types: corrective maintenance, adaptive maintenance, perfective maintenance, and preventive maintenance. So in corrective maintenance, these include modification and updation done in order to correct or fix problems, which are either discovered by user or concluded by user error reports. Second one is adaptive maintenance. So these include modification and updation applied to keep the software product up to date and turn to the ever changing world of the technology and business environment. Third one is perfective maintenance. So these include modification and updation done in order to keep the software usable over long period of time. It includes new feature, new user requirement for refining the software and improve its reliability and performance. And last one is preventive maintenance. So this includes modification and updation to prevent future problems of the software. It aims to attend problems which are not significant at this moment but may cause serious issue in future. So these four are types of maintenance. The next is cost of maintenance. So it reports suggests that the cost of maintenance is high. A study on estimating software maintenance found that the cost of maintenance is as high as 67% of the cost of entire software process cycle. So this figure shows the cost of maintenance. So 67% of maintenance, 3% of requirement, 8% of designing, 7% of implementation, and 15% of testing, and remaining 67% of maintenance. So on an average, the cost of software maintenance is more than 50% of all SDLC phases. So there are various factors which trigger maintenance cost go high, such as these are the some problems which are triggered when maintenance cost high. The first one is real world factor affecting maintenance cost. So in this, the standard age of any software is considered up to 10 to 15 years. Older software which were meant to work on slow machines with less memory and storage capacity cannot keep themselves challenging against newly coming enhanced softwares on modern hardware. So changes are often left undocumented, which may cause more conflicts in future. So this is the real world factor affecting maintenance costs. And second one is software and factor affecting maintaining maintenance cost. So in this, structure of software program, programming language, dependence on external environment, and staff reliability and availability. Next is maintenance activities. So these are the maintenance activities, and this figure also shows maintenance activities. First one is identification and tracking. Second one is analysis, design, implementation, system testing, acceptance testing, delivery, and maintenance management. So these all are the maintenance activities. IEEE provides a framework for sequential maintenance process activities. It can be used in iterative manner and can be extended so that customized items and processes can be included. So these activities go hand in hand with each of the following phase. So these are all are the phases of maintenance. So first one is identification and tracing. So it involves activities pertaining to identification of data, requirement of modification or maintenance. It is generated by user or system itself, report via logs or error messages. So the maintenance type is classified also. Second one is analysis. The modification is analyzed for its impact on the system, including safety and security implications. A set of required modification is then materialized into requirement specification. The cost of modification or maintenance is analyzed and estimated is concluded. Third one is design. New modules which need to be replaced or modified or are designed against requirement specifications set in the previous stage. So test case are created for validation and verification. And next is implementation. The new modules are coded with the help of structure design created in the design stage. Every programmer is expected to do unit testing in parallel. Next is system testing. Integration testing is done among newly created modules. So integration testing is also carried out between new modules and the system. So finally, the system is tested as whole. Next is acceptance testing. So after testing the system internally, it is tested for acceptance with the help of users. If at this state user complains some issues there are addressed or noted to address in the next iteration. Next is delivery. After acceptance test, the system is deployed all over the organization either by small update package or fresh installation of the system. So the final testing take place at client and after the software is delivered. Training facilities provided if required in addition to the hard copy of user manual. And then last uh, is maintenance management. So configuration management is an essential part of system maintenance. It is added with the version control tools to control versions, semi versions, or patch management. So these are the maintenance activities. Okay. Next is software re-engineering. So when we need to update the software to keep it to the current market without impacting its functionality, it is called software re-engineering. Legacy software cannot keep tuning with the latest technology available in the market. So other than this, sometimes programmer notice that few part of software need more maintenance than others. They also need re-engineering. For example, initially Unix was developed in assembly language. When language C came into existence, Unix was re-engineered in C because working in assembly language was very difficult. So other than this, sometimes programmer notice that few parts of software need more maintenance than others. So this time re-engineering needed. So this is the software re-engineering. So this is the re-engineering process. The figure shows the re-engineering process. In this, first is decide, perform, restructure program, restructure data, apply forward engineering. These are the some phases of re-engineering process. So in this figure, there are some content. First is existing software. This is the reverse engineering, restructuring, forward engineering, and last is re-engineering software. So first is decide. So what to re-engineer? So decide first what to re-engineer. It is whole software or a part of it. Second is perform reverse engineering in order to obtain specification of existing software. And third is restructure program if required. For example, changing function oriented program into object oriented programs. Next is restructure data as required. And last is apply forward engineering concept in order to get re-engineered software. So this is the re-engineering process. Next is reverse engineering. So what is the reverse engineering? So it is a process to achieve system specification by truly analyzing, understanding the existing system. This process can be seen as reverse SDLC model. It means we try to get higher abstraction level by analyzing lower abstraction levels. So an existing system is previously implemented design about which we know nothing. Designers then do reverse engineering by looking at the code and try to get the design. So with design in hand, then try to conclude the specification. Thus, going in reverse from code to system specification. So this figure shows reverse engineering. First you can see existing software, reverse engineering process, and at the end you can get program specification. Next is program restructuring. So it is a process to restructure and construct the existing software. Restructuring does not impact the functionality of the software but enhance reliability and maintainability. So program components which cause errors very frequently can be changed or updated with the restructuring. Next is forward engineering. So forward engineering is a process of obtaining desired software from the specification in hand, which were brought down by means of reverse engineering. So forward engineering is same as a software engineering process with only one difference. It is carried out always after reverse engineering. So this is the forward engineering. Next is component reusability. So a component is a part of software which executed an independent task in the system. It can be a small module or a subsystem itself. For example, the login procedure used on the web can be considered. Components have high cohesion of functionality and lower rate of coupling. So in object oriented programming, the objects are designed are very specific to their concern and have fewer chances to be used in some other software. So there is a whole new vertical which is based on reuse of software component and is known as component based software engineering, CBSE. So this figure shows CBSE, component based software engineering and reuse concept. So reuse can be done at various level, application level, component level and modules level. So in application level, where an entire application is used as subsystem of new software. In component level, where subsystem of an application is used, and in modules level, where functional modules are reused. So software components provide interface which can be used to establish communication among different components. You can see in figure. Next is reuse process. So figure show reuse process. So two kinds of method can be adopted, either by keeping requirements same and adjusting component, or by keeping component are same and modifying requirement. So these are the phases of reuse process. So first is requirement specification, design, specify components, search suitable components and incorporate components. So first is requirement specification. So the functional and non-functional requirement are specified which is a software product must comply to with the help of existing system, user input or both. Second one is design. This is also standard SDLC process step where requirements are defined in terms of software parlance. The third one is specify components. So by studying the software design, the designer segregate the entire system into smaller components or subsystems. So one complete software design turns into a collection of a huge set of components working together. Next is search suitable components. The software component repository is referred by designer to search for the matching component on the basis of functionality and intended software requirements. Incorporate components. All match components are packed together to shape them as complete software. So these are the phases of reuse process. Thank you. So